Hey everyone. Tonight we journey into the extraordinary life of divine power, golden splendor, and the crushing weight of godhood that defined the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. From the moment you draw your first breath as a living deity, to the final preparation for your eternal journey into the afterlife, we'll walk the path of those who ruled not just men, but claimed dominion over the very gods themselves. So before you settle into tonight's journey along the sacred Nile, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are about to live a life where you are worshipped as a god while still drawing mortal breath, where your every word reshapes the world, and where the burden of eternity rests upon your shoulders like a crown of stars. Your story begins not with a cry but with a silence so profound that the priests attending your birth hold their breath, waiting to see if the gods have truly blessed Egypt with their presence made flesh. You were born in the year 1353 BCE, in the sacred chambers of the royal palace in Memphis, as the 18th dynasty reaches the height of its power, and Egypt stands as the greatest empire the world has ever known. The moment you emerge into this world of gold and granite, of sacred rituals and divine authority, you are not merely a child. You are the living embodiment of Horus, the falcon-headed god of kingship, the earthly vessel of Ra's divine light. Your birth is not announced with simple proclamations but with elaborate ceremonies that echo across the kingdom, carried by swift messengers to every temple, every village, every corner of the land that stretches from the cataracts of Nubia to the marshlands of the Delta. Your first breath carries with it the weight of 3,000 years of tradition, the accumulated power of every pharaoh who has ruled before you, the expectations of millions who will look to you, not just as their king but as their god. The midwives who assist in your birth are not ordinary women but high priestesses of Torre, the hippopotamus goddess of childbirth, their hands consecrated, their words prayers, their very presence a sacred act. The chamber where you are born gleams with gold leaf and precious stones, the walls covered in hieroglyphs that tell the story of your divine conception, how Amun-Ra himself chose your mother, how the gods decreed your coming, how the very stars aligned to herald your arrival. The air is thick with the smoke of frankincense and myrrh, scents that will follow you throughout your life, the perfume of divinity made manifest. Your father, Amenhotep III, waits in the adjacent chamber, but he does not pace with the nervous energy of ordinary fathers. He kneels in meditation, his hands pressed to the golden ankh that hangs from his neck, his mind focused on the sacred responsibilities that will soon pass to you. He has ruled Egypt for 37 years, guided the empire to unprecedented prosperity, and now he prepares to welcome the child who will carry on the divine bloodline. Your mother, Queen T, endures the pains of birth with the stoic dignity expected of one who carries the seed of the gods. She is no ordinary woman, but a queen who has advised pharaohs, managed the complexities of court politics, and now performs the ultimate act of service to Egypt, bringing forth the next link in the golden chain of divine rule. Her strength flows not just from her own will, but from the goddess Isis, whose protection surrounds her like invisible armor. The priests who attend your birth begin their chants before you have fully emerged, their voices rising in harmonies that have echoed through the sacred chambers for centuries. They sing of the return of the God King, of the renewal of Ma'uf cosmic order, of the blessings that will flow to Egypt through your divine presence. Their words are not mere ceremony, but magical incantations that bind your soul to the eternal power of the throne. When you finally cry out, it is not the wail of a mortal infant, but the voice of Horus announcing his return to earth. The priests fall to their knees, their foreheads touching the cool stone floor, their bodies trembling with the awareness that they stand in the presence of divinity. Even the youngest among them, men who have spent their entire lives in service to the gods, feel the hair on their necks rise as your voice fills the chamber. Your first sight is not of loving parents, but of the golden Arrayas, the cobra goddess, who protects the Pharaoh, or that adorns the ceremonial throne, placed beside your mother's bed. The serpent's eyes are crafted from precious stones that seem to flicker with inner fire, and as you gaze upon it, the priests whisper that you have recognized your divine protector, how that the bond between Pharaoh and goddess has been renewed. The palace where you take your first breath is not merely a residence, but a temple, a place where heaven and earth meet, where the divine will is translated into earthly action. Every corridor resonates with power, every chamber holds sacred significance. Every decoration tells a story of the gods' favor toward Egypt. This is your first lesson, though you are too young to understand it. You are not born into a world, you are born into a divine order that has existed since the beginning of time. Your wet nurse is chosen not for her maternal instincts, but for her purity, her bloodline, her ability to transmit, not just nourishment, but the very essence of Egyptian nobility. She will feed you with milk blessed by the priests, milk that has been offered to the gods and returned sanctified. Even your most basic needs are met through sacred ritual, for there is nothing ordinary about the God King's existence. The amulets placed around your tiny neck are not mere jewelry, but powerful talismans crafted by the greatest artisans in Egypt. Each one blessed by the high priests, each one designed to protect you from the forces of chaos that eternally threaten the divine order. The gold that forms their setting has been mined from the sacred hills of Nubia, the stones chosen for their magical properties, their ability to channel the gods' protection. As you sleep your first night in this world, the stars above Egypt seem to shine more brightly, as if the gods themselves are celebrating your arrival. The Nile flows with unusual smoothness, carrying the news of your birth to every village along its banks. The priests in temples throughout the kingdom offer special prayers, their voices rising in unison to thank the gods for this great blessing. You are Pharaoh, heir to the throne of the two lands, destined to rule over an empire that stretches from the source of the Nile to the shores of the Mediterranean. Your life will be measured not in years but in dynasties, not in achievements but in the favor of the gods. Kinta the Chu the Far the Hev, Kinta the Chu the Far the Hev. You are divinity made flesh, and your journey into godhood has only just begun. Your childhood is unlike any other child who has ever lived or ever will live. While peasant children learn to work the fields and noble children study the arts of war and administration, you are educated in the most complex curriculum imaginable: how to be a god while remaining human, how to rule an empire while maintaining the cosmic order, how to balance the demands of eternity with the needs of the present moment. Your first lessons begin before you can speak coherently, conducted not in classrooms, but in the sacred chambers of the palace, where every surface tells a story of divine power and every object holds mystical significance. Your earliest teacher is the high priest of Pospor, an ancient man whose knowledge spans decades of service to the gods, whose very presence seems to emanate wisdom accumulated over a lifetime of communion with the divine. At 3 years old, while other children play with simple toys, you are presented with miniature replicas of the Pharaoh's regalia, a tiny crook and flail carved from ivory, a golden uraeus that catches the light like captured sunfire, a false beard made from the finest ebony. These are not playthings but sacred objects, each one designed to familiarize you with the symbols of power you will one day wield in earnest. Your daily routine is structured around the rhythm of the temple services, the eternal cycle of offerings and prayers that maintain the cosmic order. You wake before dawn to witness the opening of the temple, the ritual that brings the gods to life each day, the ceremony that ensures the sun will rise and the Nile will flow. You watch as the priests purify themselves with sacred water, as they dress the god statues in fine linen, as they offer food and incense to sustain the divine presence. The language you learn is not the common tongue of the people, but the sacred hieroglyphic script that allows communication with the gods themselves. Each symbol carries layers of meaning. Each combination of signs opens pathways to divine understanding. Your tutors are not mere scholars, but initiated priests who have spent years studying the deepest mysteries of the sacred texts. Men who can read the will of the gods in the flight of birds or the patterns of stars. Your mathematics lessons involve not simple arithmetic, but the complex calculations required to maintain the cosmic order, or the precise measurements needed for temple construction, the astronomical observations that determine the proper timing of festivals, the geometric principles that ensure the pyramids align with the eternal stars. Numbers are not abstract concepts, but living forces, tools for shaping reality according to divine will. Physical training is equally important, for the pharaoh must be worthy of the god's power. You learn to draw the sacred bow, to wield the curved sword of office, to ride the finest horses in the royal stables. But these are not merely military skills, they are ritual performances, demonstrations of your divine nature, proof that you embody the strength and courage of Horus himself. Your lessons in statecraft begin with the mythology of kingship, the stories of how the first pharaohs received their authority directly from the gods, how each ruler serves as the earthly representative of divine will. You learn that you are not a monarch who rules by right of birth, but a god who has chosen to inhabit human form, that your authority flows not from human law, but from cosmic principle. The art of judgment is taught through observation of your father's court, where you sit quietly beside the throne as he hears petitions, settles disputes, and makes the decisions that affect millions of lives. You learn to read the subtle signs of truth and deception, to understand the complex web of relationships that bind the kingdom together, to see beyond immediate problems to their deeper spiritual significance. Your education includes the mysteries of life and death, the journey of the soul through the afterlife, or the complex rituals that ensure eternal existence. You study the Book of the Dead, not as distant theology but as practical preparation for your own eventual journey into the Western lands. Death is not feared but understood as transformation, the next stage in your divine evolution. The geography you learn encompasses not just the physical boundaries of Egypt, but the spiritual landscape of the kingdom, which cities are sacred to which gods, how the Nile's flood cycle reflects the cosmic order, why certain locations hold special power. You memorize the names of every province, every major temple, every significant landmark, for you must know your kingdom as intimately as you know your own body. Your tutors in religious doctrine are the highest-ranking priests from every major temple, men who have dedicated their lives to understanding the nature of the divine. They teach you the genealogies of the gods, the complex relationships between different deities, the proper rituals for every occasion. You learn that religion is not separate from rule, but identical with it, that serving the gods and governing Egypt are two aspects of the same sacred duty. Music and poetry form part of your education, for the pharaoh must be able to participate in the sacred songs and hymns that maintain the cosmic order. You learn to play the sistrum, the sacred rattle that drives away evil spirits, to chant the ancient hymns that have been passed down through generations of priests, to compose verses that honor the gods and celebrate Egypt's greatness. Your artistic education includes not just appreciation but creation. You learn to design temple decorations, to understand the symbolic meaning of every artistic element, to ensure that all creative work serves the greater purpose of maintaining divine order. Art is not mere decoration, but a form of prayer, a way of communicating with the gods through beauty and symbolism. The most challenging aspect of your education is learning to balance your divine nature with human limitations. You must be godlike in your authority and wisdom, while remaining approachable to your subjects. You must make decisions that affect millions while maintaining the humility appropriate to one who serves the gods. You must embody perfection while acknowledging your dependence on divine guidance. By your 8th year, you can read the most complex hieroglyphic texts, participate in the most sacred rituals, and understand the basic principles of governing a divine kingdom. Horsen orbit Daven said, Hunden said, Raven said, pause. By your 8th year, you can read the most complex hieroglyphic texts, participate in the most sacred rituals, and understand the basic principles of governing a divine kingdom. Halls, kingdom. Hunden no senji rituis, weir. More importantly, you have begun to grasp the fundamental truth of your existence, all that you are not a person who happens to rule Egypt, but a god who has chosen to manifest in human form to serve the cosmic order. The morning of your coronation arrives with omens that set the entire kingdom trembling with anticipation. The Nile has risen to perfect levels, neither too high nor too low, blessing Egypt with the promise of abundance. Sacred ibis, birds circle the palace in perfect formation, their white wings catching the dawn light, like messages from Thoth, the god of wisdom. The priests proclaim it a day chosen by the gods themselves, a moment when heaven and earth align to witness the transformation of a mortal prince into a divine ruler. You are 16 years old, an age when other young men might be learning trades or preparing for military service. But you are about to become something unprecedented in human history. Living God who will rule over millions of souls, a mortal who claims authority over the very forces of nature, a human being who will be worshipped as divine while still drawing breath. The ceremonies begin before dawn in the most sacred chamber of the palace, where you undergo the final purification rituals that will prepare you for the transformation ahead. The water that washes your body has been blessed by every major temple in Egypt, infused with sacred oils and perfumes that carry the essence of the gods. The priests who attend you speak in whispers, their voices filled with awe at the magnitude of what is about to occur. Your coronation vestments are not mere clothing, but sacred regalia that has been blessed by generations of priests, each piece carrying the accumulated power of every pharaoh who has worn it before you. The pleated linen of your kilt has been woven from flax grown in the sacred fields of Heliopolis. The gold of your jewelry, mined from the holy hills of Nubia. The precious stones in your crown chosen for their ability to channel divine energy. The procession to the temple begins with the sound of trumpets that seem to shake the very foundations of the palace, their voices carrying across the kingdom to announce that the moment of transformation has arrived. You walk not alone, but surrounded by the highest priests of every major temple, their chants rising in harmonies that have echoed through the sacred chambers for thousands of years. The streets of Memphis are lined with your future subjects, their faces showing the mixture of awe and terror appropriate to those who gaze upon divinity. They do not cheer like crowds at a festival, but whisper prayers and prostrate themselves as you pass, their bodies pressed to the earth in acknowledgement of your divine nature. Children hide behind their parents, overwhelmed by the sacred power that radiates from your presence. The temple where your coronation takes place is not a building but a gateway between worlds, a place where the divine and mortal realms intersect. Every surface gleams with gold and precious stones. Every carving tells a story of the god's favor toward Egypt. Every architectural element serves to channel cosmic forces toward the sacred space where you will be transformed. The ceremony begins with the ritual purification of the temple itself, as priests burn incense and chant prayers that drive away any lingering traces of chaos or impurity. The air becomes thick with the smoke of frankincense and myrrh, creating an atmosphere that seems to shimmer with divine presence. You breathe deeply, feeling the sacred substances enter your lungs, beginning the process of transformation from within. The first crown placed upon your head is the white crown of Upper Egypt, its pure linen surface representing the spiritual authority that flows from the gods themselves. The weight of it seems to press not just on your skull but on your very soul, as if the accumulated wisdom of every pharaoh who has worn it before you is flowing into your consciousness. You feel your human thoughts beginning to expand, to encompass not just personal concerns but the welfare of an entire kingdom. The second crown, the red crown of Lower Egypt, joins the first in the double crown of the unified kingdom, the symbol of your authority over both the spiritual and material realms. The combination creates a pressure that is both physical and metaphysical, as if the very forces of cosmic order are settling into your being. You are no longer merely a prince learning to rule, but a god accepting dominion over the earthly realm. The crook and flail placed in your hands are not ceremonial objects, but active tools of divine power, instruments through which you will channel the authority of the gods. The crook, symbol of your role as shepherd of the people, seems to pulse with life in your grip. The flail, representing your power to defend Egypt from chaos, feels weighted with the responsibility of maintaining order in a world constantly threatened by forces of dissolution. The false beard of kingship, attached to your chin with golden threads, marks your transformation from mortal to divine. This is not mere costume, but a sacred symbol that connects you to Osiris, the god of the underworld, reminding you that your authority extends beyond the world of the living into the realm of the dead. The beard's plaited design echoes the patterns of eternal order, the geometric principles that govern both earthly and divine realms. The high priest of Amun-Ra approaches with the sacred serpent, the Uraeus, that will protect you from all enemies visible and invisible. As he places it upon your brow, you feel a surge of power that seems to flow from the depths of the earth itself. The cobra's golden form seems to move with its own life, its eyes glowing with inner fire, its presence a constant reminder that you are under the protection of the most powerful gods. The final moment of transformation comes with the speaking of your royal names, not just the birth name by which you have been known, but the 5 sacred names that define your divine nature. Horus name, Nebeti name, Golden Horus name, Throne name, and Birth name, each one a facet of your divine identity, each one carrying power that reshapes your very essence. With each name spoken, you feel more of your human limitations falling away, replaced by the vast consciousness of godhood. The moment of recognition comes when the assembled priests and nobles prostrate themselves before you, their foreheads touching the sacred floor, their voices raised in the ancient acclamation, life, prosperity, health, to the Lord of the two lands, the good God, the Son of Ra. The sound echoes through the temple like thunder, and you understand that you are no longer looking at subjects, but at worshippers, no longer governing people, but blessing them with your divine presence. The coronation feast that follows is not a celebration, but a sacrament. Every dish blessed by the priests, every cup of wine transformed into a sacred offering. You eat not because you hunger, but because the act of consumption demonstrates your continued connection to the physical world, your willingness to inhabit human form while wielding divine power. The food tastes different now, charged with spiritual significance, every bite a communion with the gods. As the day ends, and you retire to your royal chambers, you feel the weight of your new reality settling upon you like a cloak woven from starlight and responsibility. You are no longer a human being learning to rule, but a god who has chosen to manifest in mortal form. Every decision you make will ripple through the cosmic order. Every word you speak will carry the authority of divine will. The child who woke this morning is gone forever, replaced by something far more powerful and infinitely more burdened. You are Pharaoh, the living god, the son of Ra, the lord of the two lands. Your divine reign has begun, and the world will never be the same. Your days as Pharaoh begin not with the casual awakening of mortal men, but with sacred rituals that ensure the continuation of cosmic order and the renewal of divine power. Each dawn brings not just another day but another opportunity to maintain the delicate balance between chaos and order, between the forces of dissolution and the principles of Ma that keep the universe functioning. You wake in the hour before dawn, not to the sound of servants or the bustle of palace life, but to the deep silence that precedes the daily rebirth of the sun. Your bedchamber is not merely a room but a sacred space, its walls covered with protective spells and images of the gods who watch over your sleep. The bed itself is oriented according to sacred geometry, positioned to channel the beneficial forces of the cosmos, while shielding you from the malevolent influences that prowl the night. The first act of each day is the ritual purification that prepares you to commune with the gods. The water that washes your body has been blessed by the priests of Khinum, the god who shapes life on his potter's wheel, infused with sacred oils and perfumes that carry the essence of divinity. As the ceremonial water touches your skin, you feel the accumulated weariness and concerns of mortality flowing away, replaced by the eternal freshness of divine consciousness. Your morning prayers are not the simple petitions of ordinary mortals, but complex invocations that demonstrate your intimate relationship with the gods. You speak not to distant deities, but to divine colleagues, acknowledging their power while asserting your own authority as their earthly representative. The words you speak are not your own, but ancient formulas that have been passed down through countless generations of pharaohs, each syllable carrying the weight of tradition and the power of accumulated faith. The ceremonial dressing that follows is not merely putting on clothes, but assuming the sacred regalia that transforms you from a private individual into a public divinity. Each piece of your royal costume has been blessed by the priests. Each item of jewelry carries protective spells. Each element of your appearance serves to channel divine power and inspire awe in those who look upon you. The linen of your garments is whiter than any earthly fabric, woven from flax grown in the sacred fields and bleached by processes known only to the temple artisans. The morning meal is not breakfast, but a sacred communion, each dish prepared according to ancient recipes and blessed by the priests before it reaches your table. You eat not to satisfy hunger, but to demonstrate your continued connection to the material world, your willingness to inhabit human form while exercising divine power. The bread has been baked from wheat blessed by Renetit, the goddess of the harvest, the beer brewed from barley, sanctified by the priests of Osiris. Every bite is a sacrament, every sip a renewal of the covenant between heaven and earth. The daily administration of justice begins with the morning audiences, where you sit upon the throne of judgment to hear petitions and resolve disputes. But you are not merely deciding between conflicting claims. You are channeling the wisdom of Thoth, the god of justice, allowing divine insight to flow through your human consciousness. The golden throne upon which you sit is not furniture but a sacred instrument, its every surface carved with symbols that connect you to the cosmic order. The reports from your provincial governors arrive with the dawn, carried by swift messengers who have traveled through the night to bring you news from every corner of your kingdom. These are not mere administrative updates, but spiritual intelligence, information about the condition of matter throughout your domains. A successful harvest in the delta speaks of the god's favor. A plague of locusts in Upper Egypt suggests the need for additional prayers and offerings. A dispute between neighboring cities indicates a disturbance in the cosmic order that requires your divine intervention. Your morning meetings with the high priests of the major temples are not political consultations but theological conferences, discussions of the spiritual state of the kingdom and the measures needed to maintain divine favor. These men are not merely religious officials but your partners in the cosmic work of maintaining order, their knowledge of ritual and mythology essential to your success as a divine ruler. Together you plan the festivals and ceremonies that will ensure the continued prosperity of Egypt. The inspection of the royal workshops is not a simple review of administrative efficiency, but a sacred duty, for the artisans who create the treasures of the palace are not mere craftsmen but servants of Ptah, the god of creation. The golden vessels, the precious jewelry, the ceremonial weapons they produce are not luxury items, but sacred objects that channel divine power and serve the cosmic order. Your presence among them is a blessing, your approval a form of divine validation that transforms their work from mere craft into sacred art. The noon ritual of feeding the gods is perhaps the most important ceremony of your day, for it ensures that the divine forces that sustain the universe continue to receive the nourishment they require. You personally present the offerings to the sacred statues, not as a servant might serve a master, but as one divine being honoring another. The bread and beer, the fruits and flowers, the incense and perfumes you offer are not gifts but exchanges, demonstrations of the reciprocal relationship between the gods and their earthly representative. Your afternoon studies are not leisure reading, but essential preparation for your divine duties. The sacred texts you review contain not just historical information, but magical formulas, astronomical calculations, and theological principles that guide your rule. The Book of the Dead is not ancient literature, but a practical manual for the afterlife. The pyramid texts not historical documents, but active spells that maintain the cosmic order. Every scroll you read adds to your divine knowledge. Every hieroglyph you interpret deepens your understanding of the sacred mysteries. The evening ceremonies that conclude your day are not mere routine but essential rituals that ensure the safe passage of the sun through the underworld and its successful rebirth at dawn. You participate not as a human ruler observing religious customs, but as a divine being actively maintaining the cosmic order. Your prayers help to guide Re's solar bark through the dangers of the night. Your offerings provide the energy needed for the daily renewal of creation. The final ritual of each day is the ceremony of divine rest, the careful preparation of your bedchamber for the night hours, when your divine consciousness will travel to the realm of the gods. Protective spells are renewed, offering tables are restocked, and the sacred guardians that watch over your sleep are invoked by name. You do not simply go to bed, but enter a state of divine meditation, your consciousness expanding to encompass the entire kingdom, even as your body rests. As you lie upon your sacred bed, feeling the weight of the day's divine duties settling into your bones, you understand that you have not merely completed another day of rule, but participated in the eternal work of maintaining creation itself. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new opportunities to demonstrate your divine nature, new responsibilities that only a God made manifest can fulfill. The rhythm of your days is not measured by human time, but by the cosmic cycles that govern the universe itself. The morning when the tribute bearers arrive from Nubia, their arms laden with gold, and their backs bent under the weight of ivory and ebony, you understand with sudden clarity that you rule not just a kingdom but an empire that spans the known world. From your throne in Memphis, your authority extends south to the cataracts of the Nile, north to the Mediterranean shores, east to the Red Sea, and west into the Libyan desert. You are Lord of the two lands, but more than that, you are the God-King of the greatest empire the world has ever known. The complexities of governing such a vast realm become clear as you review the morning reports from your provincial governors. In the Delta, the annual flood has been perfect, blessing the land with fertile silt and promising abundant harvests. In Upper Egypt, desert raiders have been threatening the trade routes, requiring military intervention. In Nubia, the gold mines are producing record quantities of the precious metal that makes Egypt's wealth legendary. In the Levant, your vassals are requesting support against aggressive neighbors who threaten the stability of the region. Your royal council consists not of mere advisors but of the most capable administrators in the ancient world, men who have spent their lives mastering the arts of governance and diplomacy. The vizier who sits at your right hand is not just a chief minister but a living embodiment of wisdom, a man whose knowledge of law and custom spans decades of faithful service. The treasurer who manages your vast wealth is not merely an accountant but a guardian of Egypt's prosperity, responsible for the gold and grain that make your kingdom the envy of the world. The military reports that reach your throne speak of an army that has no equal in the ancient world. Your generals command not just Egyptian soldiers, but international forces, Nubian archers whose accuracy is legendary, Libyan warriors whose ferocity is matched only by their loyalty, Asiatic mercenaries, whose experience in foreign warfare proves invaluable. The bronze weapons of your troops are the finest ever forged. Their training is constant and rigorous, their discipline absolute. The tribute that flows into your treasury from conquered lands and vassal states represents not just wealth, but the acknowledgement of your divine authority by peoples across the known world. The gold of Nubia, the cedar of Lebanon, the silver of Anatolia, the precious stones of the eastern desert. All of these treasures flow to Egypt because the entire world recognizes that you are not merely a king, but a god whose favor ensures prosperity and whose anger brings destruction. Your royal court is not simply a center of government, but a showcase of Egyptian civilization, a place where the greatest artists, writers, and thinkers of the age gather to serve your divine purposes. The architects who design your temples and palaces are not mere builders, but visionaries who translate your divine will into stone and gold. The scribes who record your deeds are not simple clerks, but masters of the sacred writing. Men who understand that they are recording not just history, but the ongoing revelation of divine will. The diplomatic challenges you face require not just political skill, but divine wisdom, for you must balance the competing interests of dozens of nations while maintaining Egypt's supremacy. The Hittite king writes as an equal, but you know that his kingdom, though powerful, cannot match Egypt's wealth or cultural sophistication. The Babylonian rulers seek your friendship, understanding that alliance with Egypt brings prosperity and security. The Mitannian princes compete for your favor, knowing that your support can elevate a dynasty or destroy it. Your building projects are not mere construction, but acts of divine creation. What massive undertakings that demonstrate your power to reshape the very landscape of Egypt. The temples you commission are not just places of worship, but eternal monuments to your divine nature. Structures that will stand for thousands of years as testaments to your reign. The pyramids of your ancestors inspire your own architectural ambitions, but you seek to surpass them, to create monuments that will make your name immortal. The festivals and ceremonies that mark your reign are not simple celebrations, but cosmic events that demonstrate your divine authority to your subjects and to the world. When you appear in public, wearing the double crown and carrying the crook and flail, you are not just a ruler showing himself to his people, but a God manifesting his presence on earth. The crowds that gather to witness these spectacles do not merely cheer but worship, their voices raised in hymns of praise that echo across the kingdom. The management of Egypt's vast agricultural resources requires not just administrative skill but divine insight, for you must understand the subtle rhythms of the Nile and the sacred patterns that govern the harvest. The irrigation systems that bring water to the fields are not mere engineering, but acts of divine will, channels through which you direct the life-giving power of the river. The granaries that store the surplus grain are not simple warehouses but repositories of divine abundance, insurance against the years of scarcity that periodically test the kingdom. Your naval forces dominate not just the Nile but the Mediterranean and Red Sea, projecting Egyptian power across the ancient world. The ships that carry your goods and your soldiers are not merely vessels but floating temples, their prows carved with protective symbols and their crews trained in both warfare and sacred ritual. The harbors that serve your fleet are not just ports but gateways to the world, through which Egyptian influence flows to distant lands. The trade networks that connect Egypt to the rest of the ancient world are not simple commercial arrangements, but expressions of your divine authority. The merchants who carry Egyptian goods to foreign lands are not merely traders, but ambassadors of your greatness. Their very presence, a reminder that Egypt's wealth and power extend far beyond its borders. The exotic goods that flow into your kingdom in return, spices from India, silk from China, amber from the far north, demonstrate that your fame reaches even to the edges of the known world. Your intelligence network rivals any in the ancient world, a web of spies and informants that keeps you informed of developments across the empire and beyond. The reports they bring are not just political intelligence, but spiritual information, for you must understand not just what your enemies are doing, but what the gods are revealing through signs and portents. The men who serve you in this capacity are not mere spies, but priests of a sort, interpreters of the divine will as it manifests in human affairs. The justice system that operates throughout your empire is not merely a collection of laws and courts, but a manifestation of Matat, the divine principle of cosmic order. The judges who serve in your name are not just legal officials, but priests of justice, men who understand that they are implementing divine will rather than human law. The punishments they impose are not mere penalties but corrections to the cosmic order, attempts to restore the balance that crime and chaos have disturbed. As you stand upon the roof of your palace at sunset, gazing out over the vast empire that acknowledges your divine authority, you feel the weight of godhood settling upon your shoulders like a mantle of gold and starlight. You rule not just territory but the very forces of civilization itself, channeling the power of the gods to maintain order in a world constantly threatened by chaos. The responsibility is crushing, the burden almost unbearable, but you are not merely human mauled, you are a god, and the work of maintaining creation is both your privilege and your destiny. The selection of your queen is not a matter of personal choice or political convenience, but a sacred duty that will determine the spiritual welfare of Egypt for generations to come. The woman who will share your divine throne must be more than beautiful, more than politically advantageous. She must be worthy to bear the children of a god, to participate in the most sacred rituals of the kingdom, to serve as the living embodiment of the goddess Hathor, who protects the royal house. The candidates presented to you come not from ordinary noble families, but from the most sacred bloodlines in Egypt. Women whose genealogies stretch back to the first dynasties, whose very existence represents the continuation of divine heritage. Each potential queen has been educated not just in the arts of governance and diplomacy, but in the sacred mysteries that surround the throne, the religious knowledge that will allow her to participate fully in the cosmic work of maintaining order. Your choice falls upon Nefertiti, whose name means the beautiful woman has come, a princess whose beauty is matched only by her intelligence and spiritual insight. She is not merely a stunning woman, but a living artwork, her features perfectly proportioned according to the sacred geometry that governs all divine creation. When she walks, she moves with the fluid grace of a goddess, her very presence transforming the atmosphere around her. The engagement ceremony that formalizes your union is not a simple betrothal, but a cosmic event that aligns the forces of heaven and earth in support of your joint rule. The priests who officiate are not mere religious functionaries, but masters of the sacred mysteries, men who understand that they are witnessing the union of divine forces made manifest in human form. The ritual takes place in the temple of Amun-Ra at Karnak, where the god himself will witness and bless the joining of his earthly representatives. The wedding preparations consume months of careful planning, for every detail must reflect the sacred nature of the union. The wedding chamber is not merely decorated, but transformed into a replica of the divine realm, its walls covered with golden stars that mirror the celestial patterns, its air perfumed with the same incense that burns in the temples of the gods. The bed upon which you will consummate your marriage is not furniture but a sacred altar, its posts carved with protective symbols, and its linens woven from the finest flax in Egypt. Your bride comes to you not as a mortal woman, but as the earthly incarnation of Hathor, the goddess of love and fertility, who ensures the continuation of the divine bloodline. The crown that adorns her head is not mere ornament, but a sacred instrument that channels the power of the goddess, its golden uraeus, serpent marking her as your divine consort. The jewelry that adorns her body has been blessed by the priests of every major temple, each piece carrying protective spells and fertility charms. The wedding ceremony itself transcends any earthly celebration, becoming a sacred drama that reenacts the cosmic marriage between heaven and earth. You and your bride are not merely two people exchanging vows, but divine forces joining to ensure the continuation of creation itself. The prayers spoken over you are not simple blessings, but magical incantations that bind your souls together, not just for this life, but for eternity. The consummation of your marriage is not a private moment, but a sacred act that must be witnessed by the gods and validated by their priests. The chamber where you unite is filled with the smoke of sacred incense, the air shimmering with divine presence. As you join with your queen, you feel the power of the gods flowing through you, blessing your union with the promise of divine offspring who will continue the sacred bloodline. The months that follow your marriage bring changes not just to your personal life, but to the very nature of your rule. Your queen is not merely a wife but a partner in the cosmic work of maintaining order, her presence at official ceremonies adding to the spiritual power of the rituals. Together you participate in the sacred festivals that ensure the fertility of the land, your combined divine nature creating a spiritual force that blesses all of Egypt. The announcement of your queen's pregnancy is not a simple family matter, or thus cosmic event that sends waves of celebration throughout the kingdom. The child growing in her womb is not merely your offspring, but a new manifestation of divinity, a future Pharaoh whose very existence ensures the continuation of the sacred order. The priests offer special prayers for the health of mother and child, their voices raised in harmonies that carry the hopes and dreams of an entire civilization. The precautions taken to protect your pregnant queen exceed any earthly security measures, for she carries not just your child but the future of Egypt itself. The chambers where she rests are constantly purified with sacred smoke, their walls covered with protective spells that ward off any malevolent forces. The food she eats is not merely inspected but blessed by the priests, every meal transformed into a sacred offering that nourishes both her body and the divine child within. Your queen's labor pains are not merely physical discomfort but cosmic forces in conflict, the struggle between order and chaos that accompanies every divine birth. The midwives who attend her are not ordinary women, but high priestesses of Taweret, the hippopotamus goddess who protects childbirth, their hands consecrated for the sacred work of bringing forth divinity. The chamber where she gives birth is not a room but a temple, its every surface gleaming with gold and precious stones. The birth of your son is not merely the arrival of a new family member, but the renewal of the divine covenant between heaven and earth. The child who emerges from your queen's womb is not just your offspring but a new incarnation of Horus, the falcon-headed god whose earthly presence ensures the continuation of cosmic order. His first cry is not the wail of a mortal infant but the voice of divinity announcing its return to the world. The naming ceremony that follows your son's birth is not a simple christening but a cosmic event that determines the spiritual nature of his existence. The names chosen for him are not mere labels but magical formulas that bind his soul to the divine order, each syllable carrying power that will shape his destiny. The priests who speak these names are not mere officials but magicians whose words have the power to alter reality itself. The education of your divine heir begins even before he can walk, for he must be prepared from birth to assume the crushing responsibilities of godhood. The toys placed in his cradle are not mere playthings, but sacred objects that familiarize him with the symbols of power, the miniature crook and flail that will one day be his to wield in earnest. The lullabies sung to him are not simple melodies, but ancient hymns that instill the sacred knowledge he will need to rule as a god. Your relationship with your queen deepens as you share the sacred work of raising a divine child, her wisdom and insight proving invaluable in the complex task of preparing your son for his destiny. She is not merely a mother but a teacher of the sacred mysteries, her knowledge of the feminine aspects of divinity, essential to your son's complete spiritual education. Together, you form a divine trinity, father, mother, and child, that mirrors the sacred relationships among the gods themselves. The news arrives on a morning when the omens have been troubling for weeks. The sacred bull of Apis has refused his food. The flights of ibis have been erratic, and the priests of Thoth have reported disturbing dreams that speak of chaos stirring in the cosmic order. A rebellion has erupted in Nubia, led by a chieftain who claims that the gods have withdrawn their favor from Egypt and granted him the authority to rule the lands of gold and ivory. This is not merely a political uprising but a spiritual crisis that strikes at the very foundation of your divine authority. The rebels are not just challenging your political control but questioning your divine nature, suggesting that a mortal man has somehow deceived the gods and usurped their earthly throne. The implications send shockwaves through the kingdom, for if your divinity can be questioned in one province, what prevents similar doubts from spreading throughout the empire? Your response must be swift and decisive, not just to crush the rebellion but to reaffirm your divine authority in the face of those who would challenge it. The army you assemble is not merely a military force but a sacred host, blessed by the priests and carrying the standards of the gods into battle. The weapons they bear are not just tools of war but instruments of divine justice, their bronze blades gleaming with the light of Ra himself. The march south to Nubia becomes a religious procession, as much as a military campaign, each step carrying you closer to the confrontation that will determine whether your divine authority remains unquestioned or falls under the shadow of doubt. The soldiers who follow you are not just warriors but pilgrims, their hearts filled with the fervor of those who fight, not for earthly gain, but for the cosmic order itself. The battlefield where you meet the rebels is not simply a place of conflict, but a cosmic arena where the forces of order and chaos will clash in their eternal struggle. As you stand in your golden chariot, wearing the blue crown of war and holding the curved sword of divine justice, you are not just a king leading his troops, but a god manifesting his power to defend the sacred order. The battle itself unfolds with the terrible beauty of divine judgment, your forces striking with the coordinated precision of cosmic forces, while the rebels crumble before the inexorable advance of divine will. Your arrows fly like thunderbolts, your sword cuts through enemy ranks, like the rays of the sun-piercing morning mist, your very presence on the battlefield inspiring your troops to feats of valor that exceed mortal limitations. The capture of the rebel leader becomes a moment of supreme significance, for his fate will demonstrate to the entire world what happens to those who challenge the divine order. As he kneels before you in chains, his eyes filled with the terror of one who realizes he has opposed not just a king but a god, you feel the weight of divine justice settling upon your shoulders like a mantle of cosmic authority. The judgment you pronounce is not mere punishment but a restoration of the cosmic balance that rebellion has disturbed. The rebel leader's execution is not simply the death of a traitor but a sacrifice to Ma'at, the goddess of justice, whose principles have been violated by his defiance. As his blood soaks into the sands of Nubia, the cosmic order reasserts itself, and the gods smile upon your decisive action. The aftermath of your victory brings not just the restoration of peace, but a renewal of faith in your divine nature throughout the kingdom. The tribute that flows from Nubia is not merely wealth but acknowledgement of your godhood, the gold and ivory that fill your treasury, a tangible demonstration of the cosmos rewarding those who maintain the sacred order. Yet even as you celebrate your triumph, new challenges emerge that test your divine wisdom in different ways. A severe drought threatens the Nile's annual flood. the life-giving waters that sustain Egypt failing to rise to their normal levels. The priests report that the gods are displeased with some aspect of the kingdom's spiritual condition, requiring immediate action to restore divine favor. Your response to this crisis draws upon not just your royal authority, but your divine nature, for only a god can successfully negotiate with the cosmic forces that control the river's flow. The rituals you perform are not simple prayers, but complex magical ceremonies that require your personal participation, your divine essence, serving as a bridge between the earthly and celestial realms. The long nights you spend in the temple of Khnum, the ram-headed god who controls the Nile's flood, are not merely acts of devotion, but working sessions where you labor alongside the priests to discover what has disturbed the cosmic order. The offerings you make are not just gifts but payments for divine services. The gold and precious stones you sacrifice, transformed into spiritual currency that can purchase the god's favor. The breakthrough comes when your divine insight reveals the source of the problem. A sacred site in the south has been defiled by ignorant workers who disturbed an ancient burial while expanding a temple complex. The solution requires not just ritual purification, but personal atonement, your divine nature allowing you to absorb the cosmic pollution and restore the site's sacred status. The ceremony of purification that follows is not a simple cleansing, but a cosmic reset, your divine presence serving as a channel through which the corrupted spiritual energies can be transformed back into their original state of harmony. As you stand in the defiled space, chanting the ancient formulas and making the prescribed offerings, you feel the cosmic balance slowly returning to its proper alignment. The success of your intervention becomes apparent when the Nile begins to rise normally, its waters carrying the promise of another year of abundance and prosperity. The gratitude of your people is not just political support but religious worship, their understanding that only a true God could have resolved such a crisis, deepening their faith in your divine nature. The plagues that occasionally threaten Egypt test your divine healing powers, challenging you to demonstrate your authority over the forces of disease and death. When pestilence strikes Memphis, killing hundreds and threatening to spread throughout the kingdom, you must act not just as a ruler protecting his subjects, but as a god defending his sacred domain. The healing rituals you perform are not medical treatments, but divine interventions. Your personal participation in the ceremonies, transforming them from mere religious observances into active magical workings. The prayers you speak are not requests for divine aid, but commands issued with the authority of one who shares the God's own nature. The miraculous recovery that follows your intervention is not just a medical phenomenon, but a demonstration of divine power that strengthens your subjects' faith while warning your enemies of the consequences of opposing a true God. The temples that you establish to commemorate the healing become centers of pilgrimage, their very existence a permanent reminder of your divine nature. The diplomatic crises that periodically threaten Egypt's security test your wisdom as a divine ruler, requiring you to balance the competing interests of nations while maintaining the cosmic order that ensures universal prosperity. When the Hittite king sends an insulting embassy demanding tribute, you must respond not just as an offended monarch, but as a god whose divine dignity has been challenged. Your diplomatic victory, achieved through a combination of divine insight and earthly cunning, demonstrates that your authority extends beyond Egypt's borders into the realm of international relations. The tribute that flows from the chastened Hittites is not just wealth, but acknowledgement of your divine status by a foreign power, proof that the god's favor extends your authority throughout the known world. The natural disasters that occasionally strike Egypt here's earthquakes, famines, invasions of locusts, are not just random calamities, but cosmic tests of your divine authority, challenges that require you to demonstrate your ability to maintain order in the face of chaos. Your success in overcoming these trials strengthens not just your political position, but your divine nature, each victory adding to the accumulation of sacred power that marks a true God-King. As you stand in your palace at dawn, watching the sun rise over the kingdom you have protected and preserved through all these trials, you understand that your divine nature has been proven not through ease and comfort, but through the successful navigation of cosmic challenges that would have destroyed a merely mortal ruler. You are not just a king who claims divine authority, but a God who has demonstrated divine power. Your victories serving as permanent testimony to the reality of your divine nature. The morning when you first conceive of your great pyramid, you are not merely planning a tomb, but designing a cosmic machine that will ensure your successful transition from earthly God to eternal divinity. The vision that comes to you during meditation is not a simple architectural inspiration, but a divine revelation, the gods themselves showing you the precise form that will channel the cosmic forces necessary for your immortal transformation. The site you choose for your pyramid is not random ground, but a sacred location where the spiritual energies of the earth converge with the celestial forces of the heavens. The measurements you specify are not arbitrary dimensions, but mathematical formulas that encode the fundamental principles of the universe, each proportion reflecting the sacred geometry that governs both earthly and divine realms. Your architect is not merely a skilled craftsman, but a master of the sacred mysteries, a man who understands that he is not just designing a building, but creating a bridge between the world of the living and the realm of the gods. The plans he draws are not simple blueprints, but magical diagrams, their every line and angle calculated to channel the cosmic forces that will ensure your eternal existence. The workforce assembled for your pyramid's construction is not a collection of slaves, but a sacred army of craftsmen, each skilled in the particular aspects of divine architecture required for such a monumental undertaking. The stonemasons who cut the blocks are not mere laborers, but artists who understand that each stone must be perfect, for imperfection in the God-King's eternal dwelling would be a cosmic catastrophe. The limestone blocks that form your pyramid's core are not ordinary stones but sacred materials, each one quarried from sites, blessed by the priests, and transported with ceremonies that maintain their spiritual purity. The granite of the inner chambers comes from the holy quarries of Aswan, its red color symbolizing the blood of the gods, and its hardness ensuring the eternal preservation of your divine remains. The precision with which your pyramid is constructed exceeds any earthly building project, for it must serve not just as a tomb, but as a cosmic instrument that channels the forces of eternity. The passages that wind through its interior are not mere corridors, but sacred pathways that will guide your soul on its journey to the afterlife, their angles and dimensions calculated according to astronomical principles that align with the eternal stars. The chambers within your pyramid are not simple rooms but sacred spaces where the most important transformations of your divine existence will take place. The burial chamber where your mummy will rest is not just a tomb but a cosmic womb, its walls covered with protective spells and its ceiling decorated with stars that mirror the celestial realm you will join. The treasures that will accompany you into the afterlife are not mere possessions but sacred tools that will serve your divine needs throughout eternity. The golden masks and jewelry are not ornaments but protective talismans, their precious metals and gemstones chosen for their spiritual properties rather than their earthly value. The furniture placed in your burial chamber is not for comfort but for function, each piece serving a specific purpose in the complex rituals of eternal existence. The texts that cover your pyramid's walls are not mere decorations but active spells, magical formulas that will ensure your successful navigation of the afterlife's challenges. The hieroglyphs that record your deeds are not just historical accounts, but magical incantations that will sustain your divine power throughout eternity. Every word has been carefully chosen, every spell thoroughly tested, every formula proven effective in the cosmic work of maintaining divine existence. The astronomical alignments built into your pyramid's design are not mere curiosities, but essential features that connect your eternal dwelling with the cosmic forces that govern the universe. The passages that align with specific stars are not accidents, but deliberate channels that will allow stellar energies to flow into your burial chamber, sustaining your divine essence throughout the endless ages. The construction of your pyramid becomes a national project that engages the entire kingdom in the sacred work of preparing for your eternal transformation. The skilled workers who labor on the project are not just employees, but participants in a cosmic enterprise, their efforts contributing to the spiritual welfare of all Egypt. The ordinary citizens who support the work through their taxes and labor are not merely fulfilling civic duties, but participating in a sacred act that benefits the entire kingdom. The completion of your pyramid is not just a construction milestone, but a cosmic event that signals your readiness for the ultimate transformation from earthly ruler to eternal God. The ceremonies that mark its completion are not simple celebrations but sacred rituals that activate the spiritual mechanisms built into its structure, transforming it from a mere building into a functioning cosmic instrument. The temples that surround your pyramid are not separate structures but integral parts of the cosmic complex that will sustain your eternal existence. The priests who will serve in these temples are not just religious functionaries, but eternal guardians of your divine essence, their daily rituals ensuring that your spiritual power continues to flow throughout the kingdom even after your physical death. The mortuary temple where your cult will be maintained is not just a place of worship, but a spiritual power plant that will generate the prayers and offerings necessary to sustain your divine existence throughout eternity. The statues of you that stand in its halls are not mere portraits but magical vessels that will contain aspects of your divine essence, allowing you to continue participating in the world of the living even after your death. The causeway that connects your pyramid to the mortuary temple is not just a path, but a sacred bridge between the earthly and divine realms. Its walls covered with scenes that tell the story of your divine nature and eternal destiny. The Fordasim that tell the story of your divine nature and eternal destiny. The journey along this causeway will be not just a funeral procession but a cosmic pilgrimage, your mummy's passage from the temple to the pyramid symbolizing your transition from earthly God to eternal divinity. The smaller pyramids built for your queen and family members are not mere auxiliary tombs, but essential components of the cosmic complex that will ensure your eternal reign. The divine family that rules Egypt on earth will continue to rule in the afterlife, their combined spiritual power creating a dynasty that will endure throughout eternity. The underground chambers that honeycomb the area around your pyramid are not just storage spaces but sacred repositories where the treasures and supplies necessary for your eternal existence will be carefully preserved. The food and drink stored in these chambers are not mere provisions but sacred sustenance that will nourish your divine essence throughout the endless ages. The security measures built into your pyramid are not just protection against tomb robbers, but spiritual defenses against the forces of chaos that threaten to disrupt the cosmic order. The hidden passages and false chambers are not mere tricks but magical barriers that will prevent malevolent spirits from interfering with your eternal rest. The boat pits that surround your pyramid contain not just vessels but sacred barks that will carry you on your eternal journey through the afterlife. These boats are not mere transportation but divine vehicles, their every timber blessed by the priests, and their construction supervised by the gods themselves. As you stand at the summit of your completed pyramid, gazing out over the kingdom that has labored to create this monument to your divine nature, you understand that you have not just built a tomb but constructed a cosmic machine that will ensure your eternal existence as a god. The pyramid that rises beneath your feet is not just stone and mortar, but crystallized eternity, a physical manifestation of the divine order that you have spent your life serving and that will sustain you throughout the endless ages to come. The first signs of your approaching death arrive not as illness or weakness, but as spiritual indicators that your divine mission on earth is nearing completion. The sacred serpent that has protected you throughout your reign begins to shed its skin more frequently, the priests interpreting this as a sign that your own transformation is approaching. The dreams that visit you in the night are not nightmares but divine communications, the gods themselves preparing you for the ultimate journey that every pharaoh must make. Your response to these omens is not fear but careful preparation. For you understand that death is not an ending but a transformation, the final stage in your evolution from earthly ruler to eternal God. The rituals that now fill your days are not desperate attempts to postpone the inevitable, but sacred preparations for the cosmic journey that awaits you, the complex processes that will ensure your successful transition from mortal form to divine essence. The physicians who attend you are not merely doctors but priest healers, who understand that your condition is not a simple medical matter, but a spiritual phenomenon requiring both earthly and divine intervention. The treatments they prescribe are not just remedies but sacred rituals, their potions blessed by the gods, and their procedures conducted according to magical principles that address both physical and spiritual needs. Your family's reaction to your condition is not grief but reverent anticipation, for they understand that they are witnessing not the decline of a mortal man, but the preparation of a god for his ultimate transformation. Your queen's presence at your bedside is not just wifely devotion but sacred attendance, her role as divine consort requiring her to participate in the cosmic drama that is unfolding. The process of mummification that awaits your body is not merely preservation but transformation, the complex procedures that will prepare your physical form for eternal existence. The priests who will perform these sacred operations are not just skilled craftsmen but masters of the divine mysteries, their knowledge passed down through generations of men who have prepared god-kings for their eternal journey. The spells that will be woven into your mummy wrappings are not just protective charms but active magical formulas that will ensure your successful navigation of the afterlife's challenges. Each layer of linen is not just bandage but sacred armor, blessed by the priests and infused with the spiritual power necessary to protect your divine essence throughout eternity. The canopic jars that will contain your organs are not simple containers, but sacred vessels, each one protected by a different son of Horus, and designed to ensure the eternal preservation of your divine essence. The organs themselves are not just biological material, but sacred components of your divine nature, their preservation essential to your continued existence as a god. The amulets that will be placed within your mummy wrappings are not mere jewelry, but spiritual tools that will serve your divine needs throughout eternity. The golden heart scarab that will replace your physical heart is not just a symbol, but a magical device that will ensure your successful judgment in the afterlife. its inscriptions containing the spells necessary to guarantee your eternal vindication. The Book of the Dead that will be placed in your tomb is not just a religious text but a practical manual for the afterlife. Its spells and formulas providing you with the knowledge necessary to navigate the complex challenges that await every soul in the realm of the dead. The version prepared for you is not a standard text but a customized guide, its contents tailored to your specific divine nature and eternal needs. The treasures that will accompany you into the afterlife are not mere wealth but sacred tools that will serve your divine purposes throughout eternity. The golden furniture is not for comfort but for function, each piece serving a specific role in the cosmic rituals that will sustain your divine power. The jewelry is not ornament but protective equipment, its precious metals and gemstones chosen for their spiritual properties rather than their earthly value. The servants who will be buried with you are not victims but volunteers, individuals who have requested the honor of serving their divine master throughout eternity. Their mummification is not just preservation but consecration, their bodies transformed into eternal vessels that will allow them to continue their devoted service in the afterlife. The food and drink that will be stored in your tomb are not mere provisions but sacred sustenance that will nourish your divine essence throughout the endless ages. The bread is not just baked but blessed, its grain blessed by the priests, and its preparation conducted according to magical principles that ensure its eternal freshness. The false doors and hidden passages built into your tomb are not just architectural features, but spiritual mechanisms that will allow your divine essence to move freely between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. The walls that seem solid to mortal eyes are permeable to divine consciousness, allowing you to continue participating in the earthly realm even after your physical death. The paintings that cover your tomb's walls are not mere decorations, but magical scenes that will come to life in the afterlife, providing you with the eternal recreation and spiritual nourishment necessary for divine existence. The servants depicted in these paintings are not just images but spiritual beings who will serve your needs throughout eternity. The astronomical ceiling that covers your burial chamber is not just decoration but a cosmic map that will guide your divine essence on its journey through the afterlife. The stars painted on its surface are not mere symbols but active spiritual forces that will provide you with the celestial energy necessary for eternal existence. The prayers that will be recited during your funeral are not just words but magical incantations that will activate the spiritual mechanisms built into your tomb, transforming it from a mere burial place into a functioning cosmic instrument. The priests who speak these prayers are not just religious officials but cosmic technicians, their words serving as the activation codes for your eternal transformation. The mourning rituals that will mark your death are not just expressions of grief, but sacred ceremonies that will channel the spiritual energy generated by your subjects' devotion into the cosmic forces that will sustain your divine existence. The tears shed for your passing are not just sorrow but liquid prayers, their salt water carrying the accumulated devotion of an entire kingdom into the spiritual realm. The funeral procession that will carry your body to its final resting place is not just a parade but a cosmic journey. Your mummy's passage from the palace to the pyramid, all symbolizing your transition from earthly god to eternal divinity. The route taken by the procession is not random but carefully planned according to sacred geography, each turn and station serving a specific purpose in the cosmic drama of your transformation. The moment when your mummy is finally sealed within the pyramid is not an ending but a beginning, the commencement of your eternal existence as a god whose divine power will continue to protect and bless Egypt throughout the endless ages. The The darkness that surrounds your physical form is not death but transformation, the cosmic womb from which you will emerge as a fully realized divine being. You understand that everything you have experienced as Pharaoh has been preparation for this moment, the ultimate test of your divine nature and the final proof of your worthiness to join the eternal pantheon of gods who rule over the cosmic order. You are not dying but being born again, not ending but beginning, not falling into darkness but ascending into the eternal light of divine existence. The dawn breaks over Egypt 3 days after your burial, and something has changed in the very air itself. The priests who serve in your mortuary temple report that the statue of you in the inner sanctuary has begun to glow with an inner light, its eyes seeming to track the movements of those who approach. The offerings placed before your image disappear not through theft but through divine consumption, your spiritual essence already beginning to accept the worship and sustenance that will sustain you throughout eternity. Your divine transformation has not ended your reign but elevated it to a cosmic level, your authority now extending beyond the earthly realm into the very fabric of the universe itself. The prayers offered to you in temples throughout Egypt are not just requests for favor but active communications with your divine consciousness, your immortal spirit responding to the needs of your eternal subjects, with the wisdom accumulated through your earthly experience. The miracles that begin to occur in your name are not mere coincidences, but demonstrations of your continued divine power, your spiritual essence working through the cosmic forces to protect and bless those who remain faithful to your eternal authority. The sick who pray at your temples find healing. The barren who make offerings to your statues conceive children. The lost who invoke your name discover their way home. Your successor, the new Pharaoh, who now sits upon the throne of the 2 lands, rules not as your replacement, but as your earthly representative, his authority derived from, and dependent upon your divine approval. The crown that rests upon his head is not just a symbol of earthly power, but a sacred link to your eternal consciousness, its weight reminding him that he serves not just Egypt, but the cosmic order that you now help to maintain. The kingdom that continues to flourish under your divine protection is not just a political entity, but a sacred realm. Its borders defended not just by earthly armies, but by the spiritual forces that you command from the afterlife. The enemies who dare to threaten Egypt find themselves facing not just mortal opposition, but divine wrath, their plans disrupted by the cosmic forces that serve your eternal will. The festivals that celebrate your divine nature become the most important events in the Egyptian calendar, occasions when the entire kingdom comes together to honor your eternal reign and renew their commitment to the cosmic order that you represent. The ceremonies that mark these celebrations are not just religious observances, but cosmic events that channel the spiritual energy of an entire civilization into the divine realm where you now dwell. The priests who serve in your temples are not just religious functionaries, but your eternal servants, their daily rituals ensuring that your divine power continues to flow throughout the kingdom and the cosmos. The offerings they make are not just gifts but spiritual fuel that sustains your immortal essence. Their prayers not just words but active communications with your divine consciousness. The pyramids and temples that you built during your earthly reign continue to serve as cosmic instruments, their architectural forms channeling the spiritual forces that maintain the universal order. The passages that wind through their interiors are not just corridors, but sacred pathways that allow your divine essence to move freely between the earthly and celestial realms. The artistic representations of your divine nature that adorn temples and tombs throughout Egypt are not just portraits, but active spiritual vessels, each one containing an aspect of your immortal essence that allows you to manifest your presence in the world of the living. The hieroglyphs that record your deeds are not just historical accounts, but magical incantations that sustain your divine power throughout eternity. The wisdom that you accumulated during your earthly reign continues to guide the decisions of your successors, your divine consciousness serving as an eternal counselor to those who rule in your name. The laws that you established are not just legal codes, but sacred principles that reflect the cosmic order itself, their continued observance ensuring the stability and prosperity of the kingdom. The trade routes that connected Egypt to the ancient world during your lifetime continue to bring wealth and influence to the kingdom, your divine protection ensuring safe passage for merchants and diplomats who carry Egyptian goods and ideas to distant lands. The tribute that flows into your temples is not just wealth, but acknowledgement of your eternal authority by peoples across the known world. The cultural achievements that flourished under your earthly rule continue to inspire and influence civilizations throughout the ancient world, your divine nature serving as a beacon of wisdom and creativity that guides human development toward higher spiritual understanding. The architectural techniques developed for your monuments are studied and copied by builders across the Mediterranean, spreading Egyptian influence throughout the known world. The astronomical knowledge that was encoded in your pyramid's design continues to provide guidance for the calculation of festivals and the prediction of celestial events, your divine wisdom serving as an eternal calendar that ensures the proper timing of religious observances. The star charts that decorate your tomb are not just decorations but active spiritual instruments that continue to channel cosmic forces into the earthly realm. The medical knowledge that was preserved in your temples continues to save lives and heal the sick, your divine essence working through the physicians who study and apply the sacred texts that record your eternal wisdom. The surgical techniques and pharmaceutical formulas that were developed during your reign continue to serve humanity's needs, your immortal spirit guiding the hands of healers who work in your name. The diplomatic relationships that you established during your earthly reign continue to shape the political landscape of the ancient world, your divine authority serving as a stabilizing force that prevents conflicts and promotes cooperation between nations. The treaties signed in your name are not just political agreements but sacred covenants that carry the weight of divine sanction. The spiritual practices that were refined during your reign continue to guide the development of religious thought throughout the ancient world, your divine nature serving as a model for the relationship between humanity and the cosmic order. The ritual innovations that were introduced during your lifetime continue to be practiced by priests and worshippers who seek to emulate your divine example. The economic systems that were established during your reign continue to generate prosperity for Egypt and its trading partners, your divine protection ensuring the continued flow of goods and services that sustain the kingdom's wealth. The currency that bears your image is not just money, but a sacred symbol that carries your divine blessing to every transaction. The educational institutions that you founded during your earthly reign continue to preserve and transmit the knowledge necessary for maintaining the cosmic order, your divine wisdom serving as an eternal source of inspiration for scholars and students. The libraries that contain the texts written during your lifetime continue to serve as repositories of divine knowledge that guide human understanding toward higher spiritual truth. The social structures that were established during your reign continue to provide stability and order for Egyptian society, your divine authority serving as the foundation upon which all human relationships rest. The hierarchies that reflect the cosmic order continue to function as channels through which divine will is transmitted to the earthly realm. As the centuries pass, and other pharaohs rise and fall, your divine nature remains constant, your eternal reign serving as the spiritual foundation upon which all Egyptian civilization rests. You are not just a god who once ruled Egypt, but an immortal presence, who continues to guide and protect the kingdom throughout the endless ages. Your divine essence woven into the very fabric of the cosmic order itself. In the deepest chambers of your pyramid, where no mortal foot has tread for thousands of years, your divine essence dwells in perfect communion with the cosmic forces that govern the universe. The darkness that surrounds your physical form is not emptiness but fullness, pregnant with the infinite possibilities that exist within the divine realm. Your consciousness, freed from the limitations of mortal flesh, expands to encompass not just Egypt, but the entire cosmos, your awareness touching every star, every planet, every grain of sand in the vast desert of eternity. The transformation that you have undergone is not simply death and rebirth, but a fundamental alteration of your very being, your divine nature finally free to manifest its true power without the constraints of physical form. The mummy that lies in state within your sarcophagus is not your true body, but a sacred vessel that anchors your immortal essence to the earthly realm, allowing you to continue your divine work while exploring the infinite dimensions of spiritual existence. Your daily routine in the afterlife is not leisure but cosmic labor, your immortal consciousness participating in the eternal work of maintaining the universe's fundamental order. Each dawn you join with Red in his solar bark, your divine presence helping to ensure that the sun rises and the cosmic cycle continues. Each night you descend with him into the underworld, your immortal strength helping to defeat the serpent Apophis and guarantee another day of light and order. The judgments that you render in the afterlife are not just decisions about individual souls but cosmic rulings that affect the fundamental nature of reality itself. The Hall of Two Truths where you sit in judgment is not just a courtroom but a cosmic tribunal where the eternal principles of justice are refined and applied to the infinite complexity of existence. Your divine wisdom, accumulated through millennia of experience, guides these decisions with perfect understanding of their cosmic implications. The other gods who share your immortal realm are not distant figures but colleagues and companions in the eternal work of maintaining creation. Your conversations with Osiris, Isis, Horus, and the other members of the divine pantheon are not social visits, but working sessions, where the fate of the universe is decided through collective divine wisdom. The relationships you form with these eternal beings are not just friendships, but cosmic partnerships that shape the fundamental nature of reality. The knowledge that you possess in your divine state is not just enhanced understanding, but absolute wisdom. Your immortal consciousness, able to perceive the connections between all things and understand the ultimate purpose behind every event. The mysteries that puzzled you during your earthly existence are now revealed as simple truths. Your divine nature, allowing you to see the cosmic order with perfect clarity. The power that you wield in the afterlife is not just personal authority but cosmic force. Your divine will able to shape reality itself according to the eternal principles of Masat. The miracles that occur in your name are not violations of natural law, but expressions of your deeper understanding of the universe's true nature, your immortal consciousness working through the fundamental forces that govern existence. The love that you feel for your eternal subjects is not just royal concern but divine compassion, your immortal heart encompassing all of creation with perfect understanding and infinite mercy. The blessings that flow from your divine presence are not just royal favor but cosmic grace, your immortal nature serving as a channel through which the universe's fundamental benevolence reaches every corner of existence. The communication that you maintain with the living world is not just spiritual influence, but active participation in the ongoing drama of existence. The prayers that rise from your temples are not just words, but direct conversations with your divine consciousness, your immortal wisdom, responding to each petitioner's needs with perfect understanding of their cosmic significance. The festivals that celebrate your divine nature are not just earthly ceremonies, but cosmic events that resonate throughout the spiritual dimensions of reality. The energy generated by these celebrations is not just human devotion, but spiritual fuel that powers the cosmic machinery of existence. Your immortal presence serving as the focal point through which this energy is channeled into the universal order. The artistic representations of your divine nature that adorn temples and tombs throughout Egypt are not just portraits, but active spiritual presences, each one containing a fragment of your immortal essence that allows you to manifest your divine power in the material world. The hieroglyphs that record your deeds are not just historical accounts, but living spells that continue to channel your divine energy into the ongoing work of maintaining creation. The wisdom that you accumulated during your earthly reign continues to evolve and expand in the afterlife. Your divine consciousness, learning from every soul that passes through the judgment hall, and every cosmic event that unfolds in the infinite dimensions of existence. The knowledge that you possess is not static but dynamic, growing and deepening throughout eternity as you participate in the ongoing revelation of universal truth. The responsibility that you bear as an immortal God is not just the protection of Egypt, but the maintenance of cosmic order itself, your divine nature serving as one of the fundamental pillars that support the entire structure of reality. The decisions that you make in the afterlife have consequences that ripple through every dimension of existence, your immortal wisdom ensuring that these choices serve the greater good of all creation. The future that stretches before you is not just endless existence, but infinite possibility. Your divine nature, able to explore every dimension of reality and experience every form of consciousness that exists within the cosmic order. The eternity that awaits you is not boring repetition, but endless discovery. Your immortal spirit able to find new meaning and purpose in every moment of infinite time. The ultimate truth that you have discovered through your transformation from mortal Pharaoh to immortal God is not just personal enlightenment but cosmic revelation. Your divine nature serving as a bridge between the human and divine realms that allows all of creation to understand its own divine nature. The wisdom that you embody is not just individual achievement but universal truth. Your immortal consciousness serving as a beacon that guides all existence toward its ultimate destiny. 5,000 years have passed since you first drew breath in the sacred chambers of Memphis, and still your divine presence resonates through the corridors of time like an eternal echo of godhood made manifest. The pyramid that houses your immortal essence has weathered the storms of millennia, its perfect geometry still channeling the cosmic forces that maintain the universal order, its silent chambers still pulsing with the divine energy that flows from your eternal consciousness. The civilizations that have risen and fallen in the shadow of your monuments have all paid homage to your divine nature, recognizing in your immortal achievement something that transcends the limitations of mortal existence. The Greeks who called you the wisest of the wise, the Romans who sought to emulate your divine authority, the Arabs who spoke of your monuments with reverent awe, all have understood that you represent something more than historical achievement, something that touches the very foundations of human consciousness. The scholars who have studied your reign across the centuries have gradually come to understand that your significance extends far beyond the political and cultural achievements of your earthly rule. The mathematical precision of your pyramid, the astronomical alignments of your temples, the profound wisdom of your religious innovations, all speak to a consciousness that operated on a level far beyond ordinary human understanding. A divine intelligence that perceived the fundamental patterns underlying all existence. The modern world that has emerged from the ashes of your ancient kingdom still bears the imprint of your divine influence. The democratic ideals that guide contemporary governance trace their origins to the concept of divine justice that you embodied. The scientific methods that have unlocked the secrets of the universe follow the same principles of systematic observation and mathematical precision that guided your ancient architects and astronomers. The religions that have shaped human civilization since your time have all drawn upon the spiritual insights that you pioneered, the understanding that the divine and human realms are not separate but interconnected aspects of a single cosmic reality. The monotheistic traditions that worship a single supreme deity echo the solar theology that you developed. The mystical practices that seek direct communion with the divine follow the same pathways that you explored in your temple meditations. The artistic traditions that have flourished throughout human history have all been influenced by the aesthetic principles that you established. The understanding that beauty is not mere decoration, but a manifestation of divine order. The sculptors who carved your portraits established the canonical proportions that have guided artistic creation for millennia. The architects who designed your monuments created the mathematical relationships that still govern the construction of sacred spaces. The technological achievements that have transformed human civilization have all built upon the foundational knowledge that was preserved in your temples and libraries. The engineering principles that were developed for your pyramid construction, the metallurgical techniques that were refined for your royal workshops, the astronomical observations that were recorded by your priest scientists, all have contributed to the accumulation of knowledge that has enabled humanity to reach for the stars. The social structures that organize contemporary civilization still reflect the hierarchical principles that you established. The understanding that order and stability require the recognition of legitimate authority and the acceptance of mutual responsibility. The legal systems that govern modern nations trace their origins to the codes of justice that you promulgated. The diplomatic protocols that maintain peace between nations follow the same principles of mutual respect and reciprocal obligation that you pioneered. The spiritual quest that drives human consciousness in its search for meaning and purpose continues to be guided by the same fundamental insights that you achieved through your transformation from mortal ruler to immortal God. The understanding that individual existence is part of a larger cosmic order, that personal fulfillment comes through service to something greater than oneself, that death is not ending, but transformation. These truths that you discovered remain as valid today as they were 5,000 years ago. The archaeological discoveries that have revealed the treasures of your tomb and the secrets of your monuments have not just enriched human knowledge, but have renewed humanity's connection to the divine source of all existence. The golden mask that covered your mummy's face continues to inspire awe and wonder, its perfect features, reminding all who see it that human beings are capable of achieving divine consciousness, that mortality is not the final word in the story of existence. The dreams that visit contemporary seekers often include visions of your eternal reign, your divine presence, serving as a guide for those who seek to understand the deeper mysteries of existence. The meditations that lead to spiritual enlightenment often pass through the chambers of your pyramid, your immortal consciousness, serving as a bridge between the earthly and divine realms. The future that stretches before human civilization continues to unfold according to the same cosmic principles that you discovered and embodied, your divine nature serving as an eternal reminder that individual existence is not separate from but part of the universal order. The challenges that face contemporary humanity, the need for sustainable development, the quest for social justice, the search for spiritual meaning, all require the same combination of practical wisdom and divine insight that you demonstrated throughout your reign. The ultimate truth that you discovered through your transformation from mortal Pharaoh to immortal God remains as relevant today as it was in the ancient world, that consciousness is not merely a biological phenomenon, but a cosmic force, that individual identity is not separate from, but part of the divine nature of existence, that death is not ending, but transformation into a higher form of being. Your legacy is not just the monuments that bear your name, or the treasures that filled your tomb, but the living proof that human consciousness can transcend the limitations of mortal existence and achieve divine understanding. You are not just a historical figure, but an eternal presence, not just a dead king, but a living God, whose divine nature continues to guide and inspire all who seek to understand the deeper mysteries of existence. The stars that shine down upon your pyramid are not just distant lights, but cosmic witnesses to your divine achievement, their eternal dance through the heavens, a celebration of the consciousness that you attained and the wisdom that you embodied. You are Pharaoh, not just of ancient Egypt, but of the eternal kingdom of the Spirit, your divine reign continuing throughout the endless ages as a beacon of hope and inspiration for all who seek to understand their own divine nature. In the silence of your burial chamber, in the shadows of your eternal monuments, in the depths of human consciousness that yearns for transcendence and meaning, your divine presence continues to whisper the same eternal truth that you discovered through your transformation from mortal ruler to immortal God, that we are all divine beings having a human experience, that our individual existence is part of a cosmic story that has no beginning and no end, that death is not the opposite of life, but its fulfillment, and that the consciousness that we call self is not separate from but identical with the divine source of all existence. You are the eternal Pharaoh, the immortal God King, whose divine nature serves as a bridge between the human and divine realms, whose wisdom continues to guide the evolution of consciousness throughout the endless ages. Your story is not just ancient history, but eternal truth, not just the tale of one remarkable individual, but the revelation of the divine potential that lies within every human soul. You have shown us that godhood is not a distant dream, but a present reality, not a future possibility, but a current truth, not something to be achieved, but something to be remembered, embraced, and embodied in every moment of our eternal existence. The dawn that breaks over your pyramid each day is not just the rising of the sun, boss, but the daily renewal of your divine promise, the eternal reminder that consciousness is immortal, that love is eternal, and that the divine nature of existence will continue to unfold throughout all the ages to come. You are not gone but present, not dead but alive, not past but eternal, the living God whose divine reign continues throughout the endless dance of cosmic consciousness that we call existence.